Here is the book called My Rotten Red-Headed Older Brother by Patricia Polacco. Not Polanco, like the Dibdis said. Polacco. These are the real pictures of her brother. When she was a little boy, he was a little boy, and she was a little girl. That's her in each picture. And that's him next to her when he gets bigger than when they were small. And here he is in her drawing of him. My brother and our mother and I all lived with my grandparents on their farm in Union City, Michigan. Now my babushka means grandmother, knew lots of things. She knew just how to tell a good story. She knew how to make ordinary things magical, and she knew how to make the best chocolate cake in Michigan. After she told my brother and me a grand tale from her homeland, we'd always ask, "Bubba, is that true?" She'd answer, "Of course it's true, but it may not have happened." Then she laughed. Now I knew that she loved me all right, but I couldn't quite understand how she could even like my older brother, Richard. Like me, my name is Richard too. He had orange hair that was like wire. He was covered in freckles. See his freckles? And he looked like a weasel with glasses. The one thing that my bubby didn't seem to know was how perfectly awful my brother really was. Mind you, he was always nice whenever she was around us, but as soon as she would leave, he would do some terrible things to me and laugh. There were so many things that I couldn't stand about him. The worst was that he was always telling me he could do just about anything better than I. Bet I can pick more blackberries than you can. No, you can't. Can so. Can not. I can too. Nah. Can. Nah. I screamed back. We both picked berries for most of the afternoon. Well, he upped and did it. He not only picked more berries than I, he set a record that was not ever even challenged for the next 10 years. You make me sick, Richard. I yelled at him. Then he smiled that smile that only a rotten, red-headed older brother could smile. I guess I would have to face it. He could run the fastest, he could climb the highest, he could throw the farthest, and he could sit the longest. He could get the dirtiest, he could burp the loudest, and spit the farthest. I'm only 4 years older than you, always have been and always will be, he said. There had to be something I could do that he couldn't. Then a thought comforted me. "Oh, Richie," I cooed, "do you like rhubarb?" "No," he said, "it's the sourest stuff on the planet." Now, I knew at long last that I had him. I bet I can eat more of this raw rhubarb than you can. I don't think so. I do. I don't. I do. I don't. I do. When I couldn't get one more sour bite into my mouth, he was still eating with relish. "I thought you said you didn't like rhubarb." "I don't like it. I love it," he announced as he popped the last stalk into his mouth. I was so mad I couldn't even feel how my belly was starting to ache. "I can't stand you, Richie Barber. I double dog can't stand you," I screamed as I went into the house to be consoled by my grandmother. "Yeah, and I'm 4 years older than you too. Always have been, always will be." That night at dinner, I could hardly eat. "Have you been eating angry apples again, child?" Bubba's asked. "I baked your favorite." Richie gave me one of his extra rotten, weasel-eyed, greeny-toothed grins. At bedtime, my Bubba came up and sat on the edge of my bed. Ooh, look, a falling star, she said. We watched it streak across the sky. Then she spit twice between her fingers and gave her chest a loud slap. Why did you do that, Bubba? I was making a wish. Don't you know that wishes on falling stars come true? At last I knew how I was going to get back at my brother. For the longest time, I watched the dark sky until I saw a shooting star across the night. Then I spit between two fingers and slapped my chest. It was done. My wish was to do something, anything, better than my older brother. I'd show him. Next morning, all I could think of was about my wish. I was thinking about it so hard I almost didn't notice the wagons and trucks pulling into the field down the road near Four Corners. A traveling carnival, my brother shouted as he ran toward me. They're setting up right here in our field. I bet I can eat more hot dogs than you can. He was already starting it, but this time I was going to do something so incredible that even he would have to sit up and take notice. I had a star wish. I'd show my rotten red-headed older brother all right. That night I ran straight for the merry-go-round. We must have taken 50 turns in that carousel, but then my brother got off. I stayed on. I went around and around and around. I knew I could do this longer than you, I shouted to my brother, without feeling proud, but just a bit dizzy. Treesha, I heard my Bubba call out, get off that thing, it's time to go home. The last thing I remembered was stepping off of the platform. Next thing I knew, I woke up with Bubba sitting on the edge of my bed. Mom and Grandpa were there too. You gave us all a fright, Mama said. How do you feel? What happened? I asked. You fell, my rotten older brother said. I don't know what we would have done, my Bubba said softly. Your brother carried you all the way home, and then he had to run to get Dr. Lee. You had to have stitches. I watched it all, he said excitedly. You fell off the merry-go-round right into some soda bottles, my Gramps said. You even passed out, my brother said. Then you finally did something special. It was from that moment, that exact moment, that our relationship changed. Thanks, Richie, I said to him. What's a big brother for anyway, he said, blushing. That night we were all out in the yard. On hot Michigan nights, it was my family's custom to sleep outside where it was cool. Look at those stars, Bubba said. Wishes are funny, aren't they? I said. Sometimes they come true differently than you think they will. That's why you have to be very careful about what you wish for. It just may come true, Bubba said. Then she squeezed both of our hands. Hang out to the grass, she whispered. Why, Bubba said. Because if we don't, we might float up to the stars. Then she leaned over and kissed us both 3 times. I kiss your eyes and I hold your hearts in my good keeping. And this night, I thank God I walked this earth with both of you. Amen. Then we all lay down on our blankets in a gentle summer night. I'll always be 4 years older than you, though, my brother whispered softly, and then he smiled. All of us held one another's hands, and then we all drifted off to sleep. Night, night. Night, Lily. Night, Grandma. Night, goat. Night, cow. Good night, moon. Good night, stars. Good night, Dibda.
Night, night, my love.
Good night, Poppy. Good night, television. Good night, Padooter. Good night, Poppy's chair. Not the one that you bombed in, the other one. Good night, love.